Welcome back to another episode of How Did They Grow? I created this podcast because I wanted you to learn how other coaches, freelancers, service providers, and course sellers are growing their business, landing 10 to 20 new clients every single month, paying them 50, 100, 200K months. See, if they've done it, you can too. And that's just the reality. And I want you to listen to these podcasts to understand what strategies are they using, what techniques are they exploring, because it's in these gems that you can apply it to your business and actually scale things up. When you're ready and you feel like you actually want to learn practical, proven methodologies, or even you want to hire a team that can build you a profitable personal brand, book in a chat with our team because we can guarantee you go viral and guarantee you get clients for your business.
And welcome to the show, guys. Today we have on Marcus Blettinger. Tell me I got that right.
You did. Good for you.
Thanks, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Marcus.
Yeah, how much do you want to know? I live on an island off the west coast of Canada, and most of my work is done. I'm a registered kinesiologist. I work in health and fitness, but I also work as a death doula, helping people navigate the end of life. And I'm an integration coach, which basically means that I help people move through transitions without getting stuck in them. Most of my work is done with clients online. And essentially, if I had to wrap it up in one sentence, I help people optimize their life by teaching them how to die. So that means end-of-life care. So people who are in the last chapters of their life, who have a terminal illness, who are trying to do things well for their family, for their own sanity, to find meaning at the end of life. But it also means working with people who are moving through major transitions. So the death of identity, when people move through big life changes. I work with them through helping them move through their transformation through initiation. So most of us spend a lot of time paying attention to where we want to go, but we don't recognize what we're leaving behind. So we kind of bring it full circle in terms of honoring the things that are being left so that we can transform. Most of us are asking for things and really considering what we're giving. So making it come full circle, not only in health, wealth, and relationships, but in the full aspects of life. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. In terms of like you helping people move through that stage, was that something that, obviously this isn't something that you just wake up having a passion for as a kid. So tell me, how did that come about,
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. You don't get into the work of death care unless you've kind of spent a lot of time around the energy of death. So my first death was when I was about 4 years old. The death of a dog really rattled our family. And until I was about the age of 30, I had a significant death in my life about every 2 years. So it took about 28, 29 years of my life for me to start recognizing that there's a pattern here. And it wasn't until I was about 22, I had a pretty horrific near-death experience that really rattled my life, and that kind of kickstarted a spiritual journey, starting to study end of life and philosophy and understanding what this is all for and asking those big questions that we don't really have the answer to. And then when I was 29, my mom got diagnosed with cancer and she passed away 6 months later. So I was the sole caretaker and power of attorney and making decisions, and it was just her and I. So she was dying and I was taking care of her. And while I was going through that process, I was asking all the questions about how do you do this well? How do you show up for somebody who's at the end of life? I've walked this path many times in different ways with different people, but obviously with your own mother, it becomes a lot more personal. So I started studying, and after she passed, I took a 2-year sabbatical to really get educated on how to help others move through this. And then that opened up a whole door of integration coaching and helping those who are at the end of life, but then also helping those who are grieving those who they've lost. And then started to understand that when we move through divorce or we move through death or loss of job or life-changing injuries, there's a huge death process that's going on there as well. And that led me down to helping people understand what grief is and how to grieve properly and the energy of grief, how it gets stuck in our bodies and how that manifests in physical pain and depression and anxiety. And that kind of started to round out the whole body of work. And this is what I do now to help people.
I think that's amazing. You mentioned there that you had a near-death experience that really like kicked off in terms of you realizing that you have to take your life seriously. You willing to share that?
Yeah, I was 22 years old, going to university, recreational drug use. My friends and I took a very, very high dose of a psychedelic, and it went sideways. And I ended up trying to commit suicide that night by way of kitchen knife, and it was horrific and awful. And it took years and years to get back on my feet. And there was a lot of very spiritual things that happened through that process
Yeah.
that made me question a lot of things about what happens in life and why we're here and what the purpose of this is. And I checked out completely. So I was ready to move on, and I was, basically at the end of my life, watching my body drift away and my soul separate. And it was a very strange, very difficult experience. And after I realized that I was going to survive, and I woke up in the hospital, making, alive and not where I thought I was going to be. And it took me a lot of years to kind of come back into this world and keep going after you say your goodbyes and you say your last words to people, and you really get comfortable with the idea that you're going to move on and this is the end of it. Having to turn the system back on and, find meaning in life and find purpose and find a calling and find a reason for why we get up in the morning. And was quite a difficult, long road. So it took about 5 years to get my feet back underneath me again. And then it took about another 5 years to rehabilitate my body, my mind, my spirit, my emotions, and regulate. And it was a heck of a time that I draw a lot of energy from and a lot of inspiration from nowadays to help others.
I think that's an amazing story, and I think you probably get this a lot. But I think you're a strong person in terms of being able to come back from way down in the depths.
Yeah,
What I was, I'm being honest. What I will say is, like, how does that, does that really like translate into what you do today? Like what you do today, obviously was motivated by that. Is it really like, it's something that even if you weren't getting paid, you would do? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think our world needs it, honestly. I think with the shifts that are happening in the planet and the things that are happening, people are starting to really grieve. I think COVID really knocked us into a different understanding of what grief and death and change really can do for somebody. And I think a lot of people really struggled coming out of that experience over 2020 and 2021 and 2022. And I'd be doing this whether I get paid lots or get paid a little. This is through my work started to understand this is why I'm here, why I've come here, and why I've decided to take this body on at this time of life. And so I'd be doing this no matter what I was getting paid. There's only one way. This is the only thing I could be doing. So helping people. I'll share this as well. I was also born with spina bifida when I was younger, and I still struggle with this today, but it's changed the way that I look at health and fitness and strength and muscles and biomechanics. So I spent 15 years in health and fitness teaching people how to move well, because I was really trying to figure out how to take care of my body as it starts to age. So I've had an awareness about where this goes, or I've had questions about where this goes over the course of a lifetime, basically my whole life. So I've really worked hard to understand human optimization from a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual level. And now I'm at a place where I can kind of package that up in a way where I can help other people in a lot of different various ways.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I want to say, I want to like use this as a segue to transition into, what are your goals for your business? But I don't want to call it your business. What can I call it?
Yeah, it's a good question. What can you call it? Yeah, it is a business. I mean, we want to be compensated for the skills and the gifts that we've been through, but it's more than a business. It's a calling.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's a purpose. In terms of goals, if I had to bring it from a spiritual place and a broader price down to something that's more tangible, right now my goals are to just get my awareness out there, get the message out there, to let people know that there's a cost to not addressing your grief, and there's a cost to stuffing your emotions down. There's a cost to living outside of your integrity. There's a cost to not optimizing your life. A lot of people have a really hard time getting up in the morning because they're just not motivated and inspired by what they're waking up to. And so giving an inventory and having that message go through and having people understand that when you start to get right with the fact that you're going to die, it starts to create more presence in your life today. And from that place, we can start to make different decisions. We can start to make choices. We can have agency in our life that eventually creates presence and fulfillment and peace and less anxiety, less depression. So a goal right now for my business is just to get the word out, to let people know that this kind of service, this kind of help, this kind of way of understanding why we're here is out there, to help people give people a framework, a context, a language for what it is that we're doing here and how to optimize that and how to step into that with some passion.
Yeah. I'm curious. You said something?
I said just awareness is the goal right now. So I use social media and other things. I have some products as well that I'm trying to release to the world and just give them the opportunity to say, give them the opportunity to embark on something that is a little bit more meaningful than what they're used to.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. And that's an amazing mission in general. Would you say, like, I'm curious, are there a lot of people doing what you're doing, or would you say like it's more like a really, really niche thing?
Yeah, I'd say both. There are people out here who understand that concept, mostly people who have a history with death and have had death affect their life in a meaningful way. The whole the whole field of death doulaship and end of life care is growing and it's getting bigger. I'd say the majority of the people who are involved in this kind of work are female. So I am quite niche, and I'm niche in the sense that I'm a male in this work. It is quite niche, but it is also growing. It's once you get into this side of work, you start to see more and more people who are interested in helping people from this kind of a lens.
Makes a lot of sense. In terms of, like you said, obviously getting awareness in terms of being able to help more people, and obviously at the end of the day, get compensated for your skills and the way you're helping them. Is there any plan to do that in 2025, or have you been doing that, or are you just starting out? What's the plan?
Yeah, there's definitely a plan for 2025. I am just starting out in the sense that I'm putting myself out there a lot more. Social media and just awareness and just getting the message out there. So I've started. This year was the first year that I've spent some time, investing in advertising and running some ads and putting some things out there, which have been received really, really well, which is shocking to me. I didn't think it was going to be picked up as well as it has been. So I'm going to continue that and create an email list and let people have a place to go and give offerings around group things, group communities, and little tiny meetings and places for people to go to have these conversations. The biggest thing is creating a space for this. People don't know where to go. Kinds of things. We all deal with this, and we're all going to deal with this if we haven't dealt with this. So there aren't a lot of resources out there for people to go, and there's not a lot of communities for people to go where they can have these conversations, where they can ask these questions that they just can't find answers to in a textbook. So that's a big mission of mine, is just creating spaces for people to gather, to be able to have these conversations, create resources that are affordable for people to start to create a framework and a language and a context to be able to hold some of these experiences that we all go through, but we don't have a language for in our culture.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're learning so much practical wisdom, because that's what I really wanted from this podcast. Now, I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for a team that can actually help you explode and go viral with your personal brand with proven methodologies, I say this because I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We've got a team of 30 people who are ready to go ahead and explode your brand so you can get clients begging to work with you. Have a chat with one of our advisors. You can book in a chat using one of the links around this video, because that chat might just change your life.
Yeah, I can see that, and what you said is true in terms of these spaces are not there in terms of like where people go when they need. Some people don't even know that it's something that is done. So that awareness is like, I think it should be the number one thing for you. And like, are you doing like all social media platforms, or are you just blasting it out there, or you have like, is that not the case?
Say that again. Am I doing this on all platforms? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like as many platforms as possible just to get the awareness up, or like you're sticking to one?
No, I'm slowly building it. I mean, right now I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm posting on Instagram and Facebook, and the reels and the shorts and stuff will also go on YouTube. So on a YouTube channel. So mostly Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Trying to figure out right now where most of these people hang out, and it sounds like most of them, the older population that are closer to the end of life, the 60s, 70s, and 80-year-olds, are mostly spending their time on Facebook. The younger population who are interested in initiation and finding purpose and clarity and meaning in their life, they're spending time on Instagram. And I haven't spent as much time on YouTube yet. I'm not sure who's spending time there, but it's easy to post there. So I kind of put them on all three platforms. The ones that I stay away from are things like TikTok, and I haven't spent much time on LinkedIn with this either, because it's not really a product where you're going to dance around to some trending audio and do a couple dances and put some highlights on there. It's just not the way that this works. There's a sacredness to this kind of works. I'm going to try and honor that on platforms you choose.
Yeah, definitely. You mean, is that when you said about the dancing and trending audio, is that TikTok?
I think so. I haven't spent any time on TikTok, but most of the videos I see are these little dances and things. So I don't know much about TikTok. I'm quite naive. And
let me just give you like some expert opinion here. Like TikTok has really changed over the years. Like when it came out, obviously that's definitely what it was. That is what it was. It was basically, in fact, originally I think it was called Musical.ly. So it was a music dancing type of. But now TikTok is like, it's the biggest thing in terms of like you putting your message out there. You don't have no one. I mean, there are people who dance, but like TikTok has grown in terms of it's even a search engine. People go there to search for questions. Like it's grown in that sense. So putting yourself on there, you just get an assistant, put yourself on there. It wouldn't be hard, in terms of like if that goal in terms of getting that message out there. And TikTok has this potential of virality. Another thing that I'm asking, don't you think like maybe like what do you think about younger people who have do you think people get death doulas, like younger people get death doulas for their older people? Does it work like that, or the older people get them for themselves? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's an interesting question. No, I would say the people that are hiring most death doulas, and myself included, are people who are probably in their 40s, 50s, and 50s who are watching their parents die. They're, or the 60s, 50s, and 60-year-olds who are watching their partner die and are trying to figure out how to show up for one partner, where they're not necessarily just the caretaker and the partner, but they're trying to find a way to, show up for them in a way where that's allowing them to go through their process, but also not invading in their process. Like I said earlier, the younger people are the ones that are dealing with anxiety, the ones that are dealing with depression, the ones who have lost a parent at a young age, that are just in their 20s and 30s, that have no idea what to do with their life. This day and age, myself included, it was really hard to get out of your 20s it's hard to get out of your 20s. And the 20s these days are really difficult. And so a lot of the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds I work with are just dealing with the anxiety of life, the pressures they've had on them from parents and the culture, that are trying to break free and be authentic and learn how to stand in their own truth and share their message and wisdom without having to please their parents. So my death doula work doesn't really cross over into the 20s and 30s. That's more of the optimization, lifestyle, mental, physical initiation kind of stuff. Learning how to shed the adolescence and learn how to transition into being an adult. That's most of the work I do with the youngers.
I think that's amazing. I personally haven't dealt with a lot of death myself, but in terms of what you said about like younger people going through your 20s, I can definitely relate to that. So I would say, because like me myself, I'm on TikTok quite a lot. So I would say, why not hop on TikTok to find, these young people?
Yeah, I think the message has to be curated. Maybe I'm wrong there, but with these
I mean,
scheduling apps, you can really just pick all four of them and blast it out at the same time. So
yeah,
maybe I'll look into that and consider that, because it's quite easy these days to get your one video
yeah,
to go on platforms. But I think the message might have to be a little bit different for the younger ones than it is for the older ones.
well, if you're asking, I don't think so. I think the message is the message. What is the message? Tell me, like, what is the message? What is Marcus's message being on social media? What is that message that you're trying to push forward?
It's I struggle with this sometimes, because I spent 10, 15 years in health and fitness. So the message is take care of your body, and there's a way to treat your body that is optimal. The concept that I have in my mind a lot is that just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of ways that we treat our bodies that has nothing to do with our biological makeup. The example that I give often is that there's a diet for a bird. There's a way a bird moves. There's a diet for a deer and an antelope. There's a way that those animals move. There's a diet and a way of moving for an alligator. The same thing applies to humans. There's a way we're supposed to move, and there's a way we're supposed to eat. So the message from a health and fitness perspective is align your physical health to your biology and your biological makeup. Now, that's one message. But then if I move over into death care, the message becomes more of your life is in your death. And what I mean by that is that the thing I said earlier, that your life is in your death, meaning that the awareness that you have about the fact that you're going to die creates a lot of presence, and I don't want to say urgency, but it makes you appreciate time in a different way. It makes you use time in a different way. So that becomes the message in the death care world. And then in the optimization world, it kind of puts it all together. But the message is learn how to emotionally regulate. We're so governed by our own emotions that we are slaves to them with our addictions and our distractions and our social medias and our, Instagrams and our cell phones. Like, the message becomes learning how to optimize your life based on what you are truly here for, so that when the end of life comes, you can have a review of your life and be proud of what you've done. A lot of us aren't living in a way that at the end of life, if it came tomorrow or next week, we wouldn't be very proud of the actions that we've made. So it's the message overall is live intentionally, not habitually. The message is, how are you taking stock of your actions? Are you consciously aware of the things that drive you and the fears that you have inside of you? Or are you still unconsciously driven by these things? Because most of the time when we're unconsciously driven, we're walking down a road that isn't for us. To add to this, to finish this off, like, one of the things I talk about a lot is that most of us follow a map to a place that isn't made for us. We're conditioned by society, culture, and family, and we're following this map saying that we need this much money, we need to be married, we need to have that white picket fence house, you need the car, you need all the things. And once we get to those treasure chests and we open them, they're usually empty because they're not for us. So the part of the thing that I teach people is stop following a map that's been created from somebody else. Start to build your own compass, so that no matter where the compass points, if it's built correctly, you know that that's the direction you got to head. Now, I might not know where the road goes, but because the compass is tuned to my integrity and my truth and my values and my mission, I know that whatever shows up walking down that road is meant for me, and there's no confusion if I'm in the right place in life. So the message is wide, and it's hard to boil down into a specific thing, but it's, at the end of the day, it's about living intentionally and being conscious of your actions and understanding that they're asking yourself if this is really where you want to be, giving people choice, learning how to give people agency for their own life so that they're governing their own decisions, not being governed by everything else that's around them.
I think that's an amazing message in terms of, like, and again, it goes back to it being, how do I say, not available. It's not available. Like, I personally never heard of a death review. I never knew this profession, this industry existed, which is goes back to the awareness thing. And I think in terms of social media, you have a lot to talk about. So I imagine you'll be making a lot of videos. You would probably never run out of ideas. You know, you could be posting like every day, right?
I do post every day, but the work is really trying to make that message concise. So right now I'm really walking the path of pushing the message of death care, and your life is in your death. And so let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about the consequences of not addressing your emotions. Let's talk about the consequences of pushing them down and pretending things are okay when they're really not. And then eventually, as that starts to build a bit, I'll start to weave in the message of how to take care of your body, how to take care of your mind, how to take care of your life, how to take care of your others, how to live intentionally. There's a big message there. So the body of work, and the thing that I always need to remind myself, is just to slow down, and there's no rush. There's nowhere to get to. But yeah, I now post every single day. There's a video out there every day that includes some sort of education or question and answer or a tip or my life story, where I get to just share what I've been through and share the message and make it relevant to people.
I think that's amazing, and I think the audience can benefit from this little nugget in terms of posting every day. How would you say, like, how is social media treating you in terms of the algorithm and all that?
Awful. Awful. Like I said, it's been new. My page has been up for about a year or so. I don't know. I'm just learning. So I'm learning, well, you know, how to make the videos long enough to catch people's attention, but still get caught in the algorithm. I'm learning about hashtags and other things. I'm learning about times a day to post. I'm learning about you know, all kinds of things. So I'm still testing the market essentially to figure out, like, what's going to stick. But like I said, my page has been live for about a year or so, but I haven't taken it seriously until about a few months ago. But it takes time. I'm patient. There's no rush, but I love to have more tips around the algorithm, how to crack that code a little bit. I hear lots of stuff about you don't need to post every day. You need to post smarter, not harder, all those things. And I don't really have a whole lot of answers for how to optimize that.
Yeah, I think, like, obviously, if you want to optimize anything, you need to go to the experts. You need to build a team. But you said something that I picked, and I think the audience, if they are constant, if the audience that are constant, I think they would have picked on that. So you said something like posting long enough videos, and that's like I'm not saying, obviously for YouTube is like, I'm just giving you like some expert like advice here. YouTube is like where long form videos thrive. But if you're talking about social media in terms of like the scrolling apps, the short form apps, the longer videos, those apps are like, the attention span of people this day is zero. People can't watch long videos. So if anything, you should be trying to make the message as concise as possible, then drive them to your long form content in terms of YouTube. And this is all like, it's like a funnel. I don't want to use the word funnel, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. And that's what I mean by like how long, not by how long they need to be, but like 20 seconds or 25. Like, what's the difference between a 45-second video and a 15-second video? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Optimize that and get the message across really concisely. I got lots of long form videos. I have a course online.
Those are
yeah, and I have a digital course online that people can enroll in that's about 5 hours long. That's longer form, 5, 10, 15-minute videos. But I take those and I cut them into smaller videos, and then I post pieces of that online to kind of give snippets and teasers about what is inside the bigger course. So yeah, I understand the context in that sense, but in terms of like when to post and how often to post, and I hear these things that you got to post every single day, and you got to have 6 to 12 stories going out there every day, and man, that's a lot of work. So I'm just learning how to optimize that so it doesn't become lots of time. So I found some good systems to be able to do that in a good way.
That's amazing. I like the fact that you found something you want to share with the audience. Maybe because we got a lot of young people trying to get on social media. Maybe share what you found.
Yeah, I don't, nothing crazy. Use a couple Google searches away and you'll find it. Like right now, I was playing with what was that app called? I don't remember. Right now, I'm just using Later. If you've heard of Later.com.
Okay, to repurpose and post and schedule.
Yeah, posting and scheduling. So what the system that I do is I spend about 2 hours a week creating the framework of all the content. It takes me about 7 to 8 hours a month to be able to post every single day. So I prepare. So if we're in February now, February's running on its own, but I'm getting ready for March. So I spend about 2 hours every weekend getting ready, and then at the end of the month I'll shoot all the videos and I'll post them all and I'll schedule them all, and then when March comes it'll just run on its own, and then I start working on April. So right now I don't have to do anything for February. I just have to make sure I go online, and if people comment or like or ask questions, I just respond to all the questions and I respond to all the comments. I post some stories every once in a while and I repost my own posts just to get the awareness out there. But I seem to be doing just fine with that aspect with later.com, and it works really well, and it's a good social media. It's cheap. It's got the aspect is really good, and it seems to be working for me so far.
Yeah, I think Later is an amazing software. Later is an amazing software in terms of being able to like reduce the time that you have and make sure it's consistently coming out. That's amazing. I think this is kind of a nice segue moving into business. What about business goals? We spoke about your social media goals for 2025. You're trying to build awareness and all that. What about business wise in 2025? What's that looking like?
So 2025 business wise, I'm trying to find a few more one-on-one clients. So I have a few more spots available. They're filling up, which is really great to see. But I have a couple more one-on-one clients that are available for coaching. So I'll fill those spots this year. I'm also creating a 9-month-long curriculum that basically takes everything that I know into a process that's like school, run from September to May-ish. So I'm in the process of creating that and running some retreats. So we're going to get these people together in the same room for 3 or 4 days over the course of a weekend, and having some practical application, creating community, getting like-minded people in the same room to have an experience around all of these things. We're creating a retreat right now for those who are at the end of life. So creating a weekend retreat for 10 to 12 to 15 people to come together who are all dealing with an end-of-life terminal diagnosis, and getting them to share their stories and connect and be able to be heard and witnessed in what they're moving through, and give them support, and not only through our knowledge and wisdom, but also through the community's knowledge and wisdom. And so that's a big part. And then the last piece that I'm creating right now is I'm writing a book on all of this as well. So that'll come out at the end of the year. So I got some projects underway, and right now the business goals are just to finish the project and just keep expanding the types of offerings that people can engage in. So I have a digital course, I have an online ebook, we'll have some online stuff. We got a curriculum that lasts a little while that we can move through. There's a book you can read that'll come out. So just different mediums to get this information into your minds and your hearts.
That's amazing. In terms of like creating a package for everyone in different, I don't want to say in different pocket sizes. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. So everyone has access to this. I think that's amazing.
There's an ebook that I released about 3 months ago that's had like 4,000 or 5,000 downloads in just a few months, and people keep coming back to me asking me if they can have a hard copy of this, and if there's something out there for, to be held in. So that was kind of the nod that I got from the universe that I should write a book. So I'm in the process of doing that, and I'm quite proud of it so far. I'm excited to release that.
That's great. That's great. I'm curious, how did you get that much traffic? You said your social media wasn't really favoring you, the algorithm. How did you get that much traffic?
So this is when I ran some ads. So I spent some money, put some money into running some ads. Like I said, the ads went really, really well. I mean, the client acquisition cost was like 9 cents. So it was really good. And we probably got 25 downloads a day for probably 2 or 3 months. And that then goes onto an email list, and then I share a newsletter where I can kind of engage with the audience and create some offerings for them and some teachings for them to kind of have their nose in on a monthly basis. But yeah, that was done through ads.
Are you looking to like splash more money on ads in the future to just maintain that level of lead flow?
Yeah, I will. I'm taking a break from it right now. There were some things that just weren't working out really well. There's the conversions from the leads to the course sale or to contact with me for one-on-one coaching wasn't coming through. So I took some break from it, and I have to kind of reevaluate what was the missing link there. But eventually I'll get back into ads as well. I'm thinking maybe in March or April, I'll start advertising things again. And yeah.
Amazing. You seem like you have, a lot of like knowledge in all the aspects. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's one thing that business owners need to, how do I say? Obviously it's always good, to if you're not good at this, get someone who's an expert. But you seem to have a knowledge of all the little nooks and crannies, and I think that's amazing. And I think, as you scale, obviously, you having that knowledge will make everything easier for you and your company and your people in terms of your team. You have a team right now?
I don't
Or is
have
it
a
just
team.
you?
So
That's amazing. That's impressive. That's actually impressive.
I had a little bit of a team. I got some help from marketing, so I can't take all the credit. But one of your questions was kind of like, how did you get to this point in your business? And the answer that I always give to this is just do good work. Like that might not apply as much when you got a $100 million business and stuff. I mean, it still applies, but when you're a solopreneur putting things out there, like one of my philosophies is really just do good work and care and put a lot of effort into your things. So that's great. I mean, my products are beautiful and they're valuable and they're really great and they have a lot of effort behind them. But it makes it really difficult when you're looking to put the team together because most people aren't willing to do good work. It's a lot of rushed stuff, quick fixes and real quick things. And my expectations and my bar is set very high, and a lot of people have a hard time reaching that. So it's part of my own personal work to try and loosen up on those things. But when it's my brand, and it's my name that's out there, like I just don't have a lot of give there. I need good quality, solid work. So I have a hard time finding people that I'm quite impressed by. So I'm still on the hunt for a good, solid team for that sense.
I definitely agree with you in terms of like, I speak to a lot of coaches on here, and it's basically like most of them say the same thing in terms of like they can't find like people who are going to resonate with their message and their culture in the company. And also like they want to do a lot of the work. They feel like it's my voice. I want to be able, no one's going to be able to do it like me. And I think that's amazing, but it only works up until a point. When you're scaling and you've got more leads and your marketing is working, it gets to a point where you're going to burn out if you don't integrate a team. Do you agree?
This isn't my first business. I ran an online business and a gym for a little while as well, and I burnt out pretty hard, which is why I had to take a few years off.
Amazing.
So I'm really working on this because it's right. Like it's like we talked about earlier. Like my field is quite niche, and the way I speak about it is also quite niche. So to find somebody who's willing to learn the language of how to talk about these things in a way that aligns with how I want the message to go out there is quite difficult. So it's forced me to be really clear and continue to get more clear on what the message is and be really concise so that you can share that and let other people expand on that, but have that concise message be a foundation for it all. And then, just take your hands off the wheel and trust that other people are going to care about this as well. But it's like I said, new in this. I'm just starting out in a lot of ways. And, I've certainly walked this path for a long time, but packaging it in a way for other people to digest and benefit from is a whole different game. So I'm just learning how to do that.
I think it's amazing. I think you're on track. You're really on track to creating an amazing, again, I don't want to use the word business, but an amazing, you said gift. Is gift the word you used?
Service. Call it a service.
Service. Yeah, I think service is really better. An amazing service. And one thing you said again about like making sure you deliver, it's like reverse engineering your marketing in terms of like you're going to do so much good work that your work is going to speak for itself in a way. And that's the best type of marketing.
That's do good work, care a lot about people, follow up, make sure your heart is in it, and ask for referrals and be patient, and it'll start to roll.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've kind of come full circle here. One thing I will ask you is, what is one thing you wish I asked you on another? What is one thing you wish I asked you on this podcast?
Put me on the spot here. What is one thing? Yeah, I got it. I don't know how to answer it. What is one thing that I wish you would have asked me on this podcast? Where people can find me. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm definitely gonna ask that. That's the last thing.
You did a good job. Like you did a good job. Like here, actually, one thing that I want you to ask is, who's a good client for me? What's a qualified client for me? Who would be qualified to work with a good client for me? That's a good question.
Let me run that by you real quick. Who is a qualified client for you, and on what offer specifically? Is it the death doula thing? Is it the initiation? Which one?
Doesn't matter actually. It's the
Mm.
what it boils down to is about five things I've gotten really clear on is, are you ready to do your inner work? So are you ready to face discomfort? Are you ready to reflect deeply? Are you ready to take action in your life? Or, are you ready to explore the pieces that build you up, the unconscious? Are you ready to bring that out? So are you ready to do the inner work is one. The second one is, are you seeking transformation or are you seeking quick fixes? Because transformation takes time and it's a process. Quick fixes, they're band-aids, right? The third piece is, are you coachable and are you open to new perspectives? Because there's a lot of things that, your way got you here is kind of the thing. My way is the way that's going to get you out of here. That's egotistical. I don't say it that way, but your way got you here. So you got to be open to changing your way so that we can create a new life for yourself. The next one would be, are you committed to investing in yourself? This is going to take time. It's not just about jumping on a call with me for an hour once a week and then living off and not doing anything. Are you willing to apply this stuff? Are you ready to put the financial, the energetic, the time, energy into all of these things? And the last one, which is something I cover in a discovery call, is, does my coaching philosophy align with you? My way is not the only way of doing things. My way is just the way that I've learned it, and my way is a way that works. But if you think of life and death and how to live it and what values and things are, very, very different than mine, then obviously we're going to have a harder time meshing. My approach is holistic. It's decentralized. There's no one thing that's going to make everything else better. It's a combination of a bunch of things. It's a network. And so the way that I approach grief and death awareness and personal transformation is unique. So it's not to say I can't mold it to your style. You don't have to be like me. I'm certainly quite skilled in making the language fit your values and the way you view the world, but there's got to be some kind of a mesh that works well together for the rest of us, or for all of us, for this to work well.
Amazing. So those are the five you said traits that they need to have to make sure that they're qualified, right? Amazing.
Right.
So
this is kind of what I.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just to end, where can the people go to find out and learn more about your work, Marcus?
Right now, the best thing to do is probably follow me on Instagram. It's the one that's most active, the one that. So universesoul.integration, soul spelled SOUL, universesoul.integration, or universalintegration.com. You can go on there to find more contact stuff for me. You can book a discovery call on that website, but those are the two places that are the easiest. I'm on there every day. Yeah.
Amazing. What about the social media? This the
Social
same
media,
thing for all of them?
Yeah, same thing for all of them. Universal integration. So Instagram's the best way. If you want to, I'm on there every day. If you send me a message on there or DM or comment on one of my posts, you'll hear from me within a day.
I think that's amazing. And it's been great talking to you, Marcus. Hopefully we can do this some other time.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time.
I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want you to go away and execute everything there is that you've learned. Now, one thing I will say is if you're in a position where you're ready to actually take things to another level, you want structured, clear guidance, you want a team that can actually help accelerate you, book in a chat with our advisors. Why? We can blow up your personal brand to attract clients begging to work with you. All you got to do is book in a chat with our advisors and we can help make it happen. Sound fair enough?